Hello, and welcome to our podcast. This is part two of a series of podcasts IT Solutions Curry is doing on working from home. Today's podcast, we will specifically be digging a little more into the working from home impact on people and how to keep people connected and keep morale up. So we're going to jump right in. Chris, being the fun guy in our organization, what are some of the things that we have done to keep things fun and keep people connected while they're all physically separated?
Well, James actually has this whip, and he brings it out, and we just start slashing when we.
It's a riding crop.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Right. But I mean, we talked a little bit about this in the podcast one, but it's one of the fun things that I like is my virtual room that we created, and one of our starts is, why don't we create a virtual room on Teams where anybody can just come in and any time of the day or night on the day of working time and just be in there. Sometimes we're chatting. It's a bit like I think you called it, Melissa, the water cooler, where people go around and say, "How's your day going? What's going on? How's the kids? How's the husband? How's the wife? Whatever." And then you can just be plugging away, working. And so, IT staff in particular have a pretty good way of being able to multitask. And so they could be working away, having a quick comment here, but working away. And it keeps morale up because it feels like you're back in the office again in some respects. You feel like you've got people around you, and for me, I feel like I'm in my comfy spot, where people are around me again. So, I mean, but, trying to keep morale up is really big, especially working from home. Some people love it and just are in their element, but I'm finding most of us enjoy people being around us. Me in particular, I love having people around me. I'm just a people person. I just need people around me to keep me going. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, I'll be honest, I get depressed. I get down. I feel myself going, "Oh, this sucks. I need to go find some peace." Especially my teamwork, my team members who I spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on most of my life, and now I don't. And so having people around me is important. So the virtual room is a fun way of doing it. Our fun committee that we have in our company is putting together some games that we can play together, and some things that we can do on Teams via video. So trying to boost up the morale, really, but just keep people's spirits up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this time has created a lot of that. There are a lot of fun Zoom games that you can play, and if you do a little bit of internet research, there's a million games that you can play on a platform like this to have a little bit of fun and keep people connected.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's people are being innovative, right? We're in a different world now. And so, yeah, it's great to just do some searches on what sort of games, what sort of fun you can have on Zoom. I did something recently with my Rotary Club district and created a list of fun things that you can do on Zoom, just to kind of make meetings fun. And so I'd be happy to share that with everybody if you want it. Just let me know.
Yeah, we can link that in the comments for this podcast so people can have access to that.
Good.
And there's certainly things scoped around events and things that you can put on that are fun. But even in terms of the daily engagement, I think tiny little things make a difference. And when we implemented Microsoft Teams as a platform, and now you have people doing real-time communication, there was something that came along with that gave me pause as an old school manager. And that was people would post memes. And you would start getting a little meme war going. Somebody would say something, all of a sudden somebody posts a meme of Danny DeVito making some snarky comment or whatever. And for the next 3 or 4 minutes, you've got 4 or 5 people meme. And first manager response, the first time that happened, y'all need to get back to work. Right?
Right.
Out comes the writing crop.
Yes. The reality is, they're having fun. And this was 3 minutes of people who are not in the same building connecting and building a relationship. And if I could think of what's the best way we could spend 3 minutes together to tell you the truth, that was probably it.
Yep.
And so now if it's a Wednesday and it's first thing in the morning and we do one of our, to the whole company, happy Wednesday, happy hump day, everybody. Here comes the camel memes on hump day. And it's good. It's a good thing, but it means rethinking as a manager, how do you get those morale moments? little moments like that.
Let them go. Yeah, let
Absolutely.
them happen.
Let it happen. Let it be organic.
Yeah.
So James, I know you had a revelation here, not too far into you working from home full time, and that was your workspace. Can you talk a little bit about how changing your workspace at home impacted your productivity and your mental space?
More than I realized it did, is the simple answer, I suppose. And it's a part of my personality. I need an organized workspace, and it needs to be a work zone. And I live in a small house. This right here, this is my dining room, and I'm on the dining room table. And when the work from home thing started, it was going to be a temporary feature. And I forget, what's the term? 1 foot in a boat and one on the dock. I brought some of the equipment from home or from work. I brought it to home. And what I ended up with was 2 sucky workspaces, one I tore apart at work and one that was partially constructed at home. And I dealt with it. And I dealt with it. And I didn't even realize what I was dealing with until at some point we invested. I got 2 nice 27-inch monitors. I got myself a really nice chair. I upgraded the thing and I started working. I realized, wow, what I was dealing with was dragging me down. I was my own worst enemy, thinking I'm doing myself and everybody a favor by putting up with the environment. Now, what are my employees doing? Are they doing the same thing? Putting up with this kind of thing? Being 70% productive because as a company, we haven't provided them with the basic tools to create a constructive environment at their homes? So, yeah. Now, that said, I went back into the office here. I've been going back into the office, and you know what? Turns out I like working in the office more. I like a dedicated workspace. That's how I am. And I don't know. That's just
But
me, maybe.
I think, James, also, other than just having all the right equipment to be productive, is also having all the right equipment to be ergonomically sound. We don't want our employees to be, working like this or hunched over or in a really uncomfortable chair, which wrecks their back because now we've got medical challenges to deal with and workers' comp challenges to deal with because they've been forced to, well, not forced, but they haven't thought through the whole, how does my work environment look? Is it working for me? Is it not only just making me more productive, but is it healthy for me? And we've really pushed our employees to take a look at that carefully and encourage anybody watching this to do the same.
I mean, private to COVID, wasn't that one of the things as business owners that we were hesitate on? It's like, okay, you're going to work from home. Does this mean I'm buying you 2 desks and 2 chairs and 2 computers and 2 monitors or 3 monitors at both locations? And am I basically doubling my expense associated with acquiring, making these capital expenditures? And then when COVID hit, everybody wanted to be home. None of the employees complained. They went home. And you're right, Chris. I mean, now it's like, okay, if I have somebody who's going home and they're sitting on a wooden kitchen stool for 9 hours a day because that's what they've got and they didn't want to bring the chair from the office or they were concerned about it and now they get back problems, are we liable? Where do we make the investments? Where do they make investments in themselves and their own environments? And where should the company make investments if they're going to end up working potentially in both locations?
And it's different because when people were working from home before COVID, it was a perk. It was something that we allowed to give people a break from having to come into the office. And when it switched from being a perk to now we need you to stay at home and we need you to be working from home, I think that some of the responsibility lines shifted from what they were providing versus what we were providing. And having a manager meet with each individual and saying, hey, what can we do to make your work from home environment more comfortable, more productive, more ergonomic, to make the situation better for everyone, I think was one of the best investments we've made during this time.
Well,
I'd like to add something else that wasn't on our list, so bear with me, but it happened to me this morning. Pets or kids who come into a work from home environment. I had my cat jump up on my keyboard while I was doing a Teams meeting. And when I saw that initially from somebody else, when I'm zooming in, I'm like, they got their cat there. That's ridiculous. Why do they have their cat there? Get that thing out of there. That's not very professional. Or the kids are in the background running around and smiling and saying cheese to the camera, I think some of that I've come to realize is, in this environment that we're in, let it go. It's okay. Yes, it's not completely professional, perhaps, to have a cat walking and tail working in front of your face, or the dog trying to jump up on your lap. But on the same token, for morale purposes, that having those things around is part of keeping morale going, right?
Well,
Sure.
either that or it's hard company policies. Listen, if you're going to work here, there's no pets, there's no kids, and if your spouse gets in the way during team meetings, they got to go too.
Well, and how impractical would that be? I mean, for us parents, at least in Stanislaus County, we're still distance learning. We have to have our kids at home. Like we don't have a choice, and they're gonna have questions, and there are going to be interruptions, and that's just something that we have to that we've adapted to, and that's part of the work from home culture now. I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's ice being shoveled right next to me, and it's super loud. But what are you gonna do? People have to live.
Right.
What you're going to do is what you have, which is a directional mic
Yeah.
that filters out 99% of that sound. That's real, actually. Directional
Yes.
mics do make a big difference.
Make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my biggest frustration in Zoom calls with lots of people is when people don't have mics and they're using their webcam mic or the mic that's built into their laptop, and you just get nothing but background noise.
The other thing, Melissa, that just looking at your background, it reminds me is that, sometimes having a background that you can put in there, whether it's a virtual background or a real background, to help with Zoom calls and so forth, which helps the distractions, right? And somebody's
Sure.
walking behind you or somebody's moving behind you. Before you know it, you're not listening to the person talking, you're watching what's going on there behind you. So having that screen that you put up behind you is I think has been very helpful.
Yes.
Although I love looking at your kids and seeing your kids, it is a distraction when I see them because I want to wave to them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. And the side benefit of this that I hadn't planned on is that this wraps all the way around my desk. And so it's nice. So when I'm not working, since I don't have an enclosed office space in my home, because my husband works from home also, I can close the door on this and I'm not looking at my work 24 hours a day when I'm not when I'm not working, when I'm cooking dinner and I'm in my Zen space, I'm not looking at my desk and all the work that needs to be done.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about dress code, because it's been a big topic of discussion in our management meetings as to, does the dress code change? We've always been a company that was big on, we want everyone to look professional. And now everyone's working from home and it's kind of a little all over the board.
Yeah, I was a big proponent. I've always been a big proponent of come dressed well, come dressed professional. When we merged with IT Solutions, they had casual Fridays, and I'm like, no, you can't do casual Fridays. Well, we can just wear jeans. No, you got to be professional. You got to look professional. Maybe it's my age. Maybe I just mellowed it out. Maybe it's James and Melissa that's helped me with this. But casual Fridays became the thing, and before you know it, I'm coming into work wearing jeans on a Friday. But when it comes to work from home, the challenges there are our employees talking to customers, or are they just talking to each other? And if so, how do they look? How do they get dressed? How do they appear? And I loved your philosophy. I think it was James, where he says, I like to put on the uniform and I get up in the morning. I get showered, I get dressed, I eat, and I put on my uniform and I go to
That's your
work.
mindset.
Sets my mindset, sets my whole day is all started normal. And I love doing that, and I still do that. But there are some of our staff members who like to wear a t-shirt and wear shorts and perhaps not so business or professional looking. They're not necessarily communicating with customers, but they might be communicating with their other peers. And so we kind of put we didn't put a strict limit on it, but we said, hey, if you're talking even to your peers, we want you to be dressed appropriately. We don't want you wearing t-shirts with horrible slogans on them or no shirt at all, or even in your jammies. We want you to.
There's still a level of professionalism that needs to be maintained even among your peers. I mean, sitting on the couch in your sweatpants and a holy wife beater doesn't let your peers know that you're prepared for work. It just doesn't.
Right. So, I mean, we don't have a strict policy, but on the same token, we have had a conversation with our employees about how to look, how to feel, and what it does to everybody when you look professional or you look somewhat decent. It takes away from those distractions, right? And somebody's talking to somebody, and all they can think of is, he's sitting in a wife beater shirt. What's going on? Then it's distracting, so not as productive.
No. So I'm sorry, go ahead, James.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so when we talked about fun and we talked about workspace, you both hit on different portions of keeping people connected. So we have the virtual room, we're using Teams. Is there any other items that either one of you would bring up that we've implemented to really keep people connected and to keep the important communication flowing during this time?
For keeping them connected, I mean, we took on certain tools. In fact, we made investments in certain tools because it is an investment. One of the tools we took on was a plug-in to Teams called Bonusly. And Bonusly allows anyone in the company to give public credit to anyone else in the company. And along with that comes a little bit of financial reward. It's not very much, but it's a little, but it's symbolic, and it builds up over time for people to do something good. And I think that helped from a morale standpoint, because when people are disconnected and you don't have a lot of communication, the one thing you hear about a lot? Problems.
All the bad stuff.
All the bad stuff, because then people are going to reach out and they're going to say something. And we needed to combat that continuous flow. It's not like it was a continuous flow of negativity. It's just there wasn't a flow of positivity to counterbalance it. And so when we put the Bonusly platform in piece that allowed at a grassroots level, thank you for helping with that. That really helped me out. Thanks for getting that to me so quickly. That helped a lot. Whatever. And a little tiny ping, and it's public. And now we have a flow of positive information that completely overrides all of the negative stuff. Maybe not completely, but I mean, it has a significant impact.
Yeah, it's a good counterbalance.
Right.
I think it also helps some of the people who are more backstage players. It helps them to get the recognition that they might not otherwise have. When we have somebody like an Allison, who is a department in and of herself, kind of working behind the scenes, when she helps somebody with something, to get for the whole company to be able to see like, hey, Allison, you were right on top of this. You helped me out so much. It reminds people of some of the work that gets done behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, what's helped for me personally, and I got this from Global Leadership Summit that we went to, but making that odd call to our employees by phone, just picking up the phone, old school, I know, but pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Chris, just checking in. How you doing? Not a business call at all. I just want to know you're doing okay. And that goes a long way with employees. And if you just
really
randomly
does.
do that with employees and just say, hey, George, how's it going? What's going on? You doing all right? Anything I can help you with? How's the family? They're like, whoa, that was nice. The other thing that I've done on occasion is, send out Grubhub vouchers and just send them out to the individual staff members, random, not everybody, just randomly do it. That way they're like, oh, that was nice. They thought of me. He's not just this virtual person anymore. He becomes a little more real.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important as owners to really reach out to our staff on a regular basis, to let them know that they're loved, to let them know that they're thought of, and they're not just a working machine in the corner.
One of my favorites that we did was on Cinco de Mayo. It was Taco Tuesday, and we sent everyone Taco Bell e-gift certificates so they could go out and buy themselves tacos. Because, it's not like we can bring tacos into the office or we can buy pizza for the office like we normally would. And so getting creative and thinking outside the box to do those same things that you would do with people in the office, outside the office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another category, and I wouldn't put this under the category of fun necessarily, but just maintaining morale for individuals. We in our company are fans of one-on-one meetings, which means we're getting together with employees and we're going over, how are you doing? How are things going? The key there that, okay, everyone's at home, but it doesn't mean your career has just come to a frozen spot. I mean, we're still moving on. We're still having the discussions and talking through directions and where everybody is heading. I think that's very important for people's morale, so that they feel like they have purpose. They see how they fit into the big machine, and especially working from home, we need to be reminded of that kind of stuff. You are important. You are contributing. We need you.
Yeah. One of the things that I've done with my own team, with the sales team, to keep the sales team connected, and we even did this in the office, but we've just enhanced it. since we've all been remote, and that is, we call it the daily sales huddle. We get together first thing in the morning every single day, and it's usually 5 minutes or less, and we talk about what's the most important thing that you can get done today, and what did you get done yesterday. And I mean, it's really boom, boom, boom. There's only a few of us. We go through the list, and then we move on, and it just allows us to get connected in the morning, connect with each other, talk about, set our intention for the day. What are we going to get done? And then the accountability of, did you get your big thing done yesterday? And it's just a good way to launch into things and to keep our team connected.
Yep.
Okay.
And see, we can see your dog right there, Chris. We just talked about this. No pets, no kids. The dog's got to go, man.
It's very distracting.
Sorry.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I think that's everything that we have on the list for working from home and keeping and the people aspect of things. Part 3 coming up next will be on technology and security. And so we'll get into some of the bits and pieces of security and compliance and keeping everybody working from home and keeping it safe, secure, and stable. So, all right.
Melissa. Bye,
Bye,
Jane.
guys.